What's going on, everybody? American Football Network here, and we got the football expert here, and we're bringing you guys our top 5 underrated teams in college football coming into the 2026 season. These are teams that we see as not necessarily like teams who are just underdogs in general, but just more like sleeper. It's more like, I guess, sleepers for the or dark horses for the college football playoff would be a better way to put it. Not necessarily teams that we think are like national championship contenders, underdogs, but more just to get into the playoffs. Teams that could have some high potential. But before we get started, make sure you guys like and subscribe to both channels, regardless of which one you're watching on. Check us out, help us hit our goals. I know my goal is 11.5 subs by the end of June. What you got a goal for this month?
Yeah, 6.5 by the end of June. So
okay, yeah. So help us hit those. Help us hit those goals. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump in as we start off. I'll go first. I'll start off my team. Also, these teams are in no particular order. We're just listing our 5 teams. They're not ranked at all. I'm going NC State. They got a guy at quarterback in CJ Bailey, which I like. I'm not super high on him, not as high as some people out there are. I think he's a little bit inconsistent. Has a little bit of accuracy problems. Tries to go for the big play when not necessary at times and be a hero. But I think overall he's a very good quarterback. Now, they don't return a lot. They return 3 starters on offense, 2 on defense. So they got a lot of inexperience out there, but they do bring in a good amount of transfers and a pretty decent recruiting class last year. And Dave Doran, he's shown he's going to be solid every year. He's going to win 7-8 games at least a year. And as we saw last year, 8-4 was good enough for the ACC champion last year. So, it's one of those things that it's possible that you could have a season like that and see what happens. So I think NC State's a dark horse. I think obviously I don't think 8-5 is winning the ACC this year. You got Miami, who's loaded, and picked up the ACC championship quarterback from last year from Duke, Darian Mensah at quarterback. So you got those teams. So I think you will have to be better than 8-4 to win the ACC championship. But I think that when you look at this team, they always have a solid defense. It's a tough environment to go on the road to play in Raleigh. I think it's a team that can make some noise this year in the ACC and maybe even a little bit further than that.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a very tough team to beat. Teams with Raleigh this year. Hurricanes just won the Stanley Cup, so good feelings out there. But yeah, no, I agree. I think.
And real quick, forgot to mention too with NC State, the schedule for them too. It's a little bit weaker. The only team like towards the top of the ACC they have to play this year is Louisville. Maybe Florida State, and they get Louisville at home, but they do have to go on the road to Florida State. But those are really the only 2 big competitive teams. They got Virginia week 1 as well, opening up in Brazil. But who even knows what's going to happen with that game? It's week 1 and it's in Brazil. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that point, and I am going to go in the slightly opposite direction. At least a very tough schedule. But a team with a better quarterback, going with Southern Cal, a team that honestly I feel like has a lot of talent, and I don't feel like a lot of people are like, oh, Southern Cal, USC's a bad team. But I feel like a lot of people are like, when you ask them who's making the playoffs, they completely leave off USC as even a possibility. And don't get me wrong, I'm a Notre Dame fan. I don't like USC. There's no good feelings towards USC. But when looking at this team and looking at Jordan Mayava and looking at Lincoln Riley is in the best position that he is in at Southern Cal, that he is, since he's been the head coach there at Southern Cal, I think this is the best position that he's been in. He does have Washington and Oregon at home, but he also has Ohio State at home and then Indiana on the road. So like most of the tough games on the schedule are at home. So I think that this schedule could very much lend itself to being a 10-2 schedule. And there's no way you don't put a 10-2 team that if their 2 losses are against Oregon, Ohio State, I think it may be a little more difficult to put them in. But if they win one of those 2 games, those are 2 teams that I think a lot of people are putting their top 5 in this college football season. So I think USC is a very good team with a very good quarterback. And a lot of pieces around him returning both defensively and offensively, including the starting running back and including a lot of the star wide receivers as well. So we'll see what Southern Cal is able to do.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with Southern Cal is last year Lincoln Riley finally showed us for the first time in his career he still doesn't have an elite defense. It's not a great defense, but it's a defense good enough that with an elite offense can get you a national championship, and that's what he's been missing. I mean, dude would have 3 titles right now. He'd be the active head coach with the most national championships right now if he had a top 30 defense his whole career. It's just a fact. All those years at Oklahoma with those Heisman Trophy quarterbacks, he would have won a national championship with just the defense with a pulse. But he hasn't had that until last year. So I think if the offense is elite with a defense that's good enough, I don't see why they couldn't go 10-2, heck, maybe even 11-1. Definitely possible. My second team, we're staying in the ACC. I'm going with Virginia Tech. They bring in James Franklin as head coach, and he brings back the old head coach Brent Pry and his former defensive coordinator to be his new defensive coordinator. I think this is a great fit for both of these guys. I think it's a new, fresh start for James Franklin at a place that doesn't have as high of expectations as Penn State. So he's got a little bit more room to kind of just freelance around there and just play his game without all the pressure. Now he'll have some pressure this year, of course, with it being his first year in Virginia Tech coming off a 3-9 season, but brought in some good transfers. They also bring back some key guys. Kamari Copeland coming back. I say he's one of the top 3 or 4 defensive tackles in the ACC, one of the best in the country as well. And so he's a beast up there at that defensive tackle spot, run stuffer. And then you get Ethan Grunkemeyer transfer in at quarterback. He dominated Clemson in the Pinstripe Bowl last year. They didn't have an answer for him. He's shown some good potential. So I think he's a guy that could really fuel this Virginia Tech in a team who really we don't know a lot about. I think they could make some noise. Now they do have a little bit of the tougher schedule. They got to play Georgia Tech, at Clemson, at SMU in 3 straight games. Then they get Stanford at home to turn around and go on the road to Miami and play Virginia at home. So they got a little bit of a tougher schedule than NC State came away with. But I think this is a team with some good potential that could make some noise in the ACC this year.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think Franklin at Virginia Tech, like you said, brings a lot more breathing room for him. That going 9-3 is a successful season at Virginia Tech, unlike at Penn State, where guys, remember, this is a coach that 2 years ago was playing in the semifinal and was one Drew Allard pick away from a possible national championship berth. So the fact that, yes, James Franklin needed to be let go because at the end of the day, he was just not going to get it done. He was not going to be able to do what Penn State fans wanted him to do. So therefore, I don't think he was the right fit. But at Virginia Tech, that's a perfect environment for Franklin to be at, though it is funny to see Brent Pry as the DC, as the former head coach at Virginia Tech. So yeah, that's kind of an interesting feel. Like you don't have the head coach's office, you have the DC's office. So, but
I think it's a place he'll feel more comfortable in, though, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think he also knows the area now. And so does James Franklin in terms of recruiting and stuff like that. Obviously, recruiting becomes more and more national every single year, and the transfer portal also lessens high school recruiting. But Virginia, Maryland, and North Carolina, that area, lower Pennsylvania, that's a hotbed for recruits. That's a very underrated place for high school football, and some stars there in that area. And Virginia Tech, a lot of people don't remember, but this is a Virginia Tech team that just a couple decades ago, not even a couple decades ago, like 15 years ago, was consistently winning the ACC, was doing well in the ACC, was doing what they needed to do. So, yeah, no, they're a good team. And then heading into my next team, also duplicate conference. With Iowa, obviously, it's a bit hard to not pick the same conferences with now only 4 of them. But Iowa's my second team. I think that Iowa defensively, they're always good. Kirk Ferentz always knows how to coach a good defense. The difference is this year they don't bring back Mark Gronkowski. Obviously, will not be back at quarterback, which is a big loss. Hank Brown will now be the quarterback there at Iowa, and that is a big loss, no doubt about it. But here's the thing. They bring Kamari Moulton, and I know a lot of people have not heard that name, but Kamari Moulton has a very legitimate shot to be a Ashton Genty type guy. He ran for 900 yards last year, averaged over 5 yards a carry in an Iowa system where you know they're going to run, had 5 touchdowns, would have had more, but Gronkowski had 16 touchdowns on the ground, so they were mostly giving it to him when they were in the red zone. So I think Moulton is a very underrated running back in college football. And, well, Iowa, like we talked about in some of them earlier, does have a bit more of a favorable schedule with who they're playing. They're playing Northern Illinois, Iowa State, Northern Iowa, at Michigan and Ohio State, and then at Washington. If they can win one of those games, win maybe even 2 of them, beat Washington and beat Michigan, or beat Ohio State, or beat Michigan and Ohio State, like whatever combination, you need to win at least one of those. You can't lose all 3. But then the back half of the schedule is Minnesota, Wisconsin, at Northwestern, Purdue, at Illinois, and Nebraska. That's a much more manageable back half of the schedule that as long as you win one of those 3 games, you have a very favorable position to make the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I think Iowa's a team. I mean, you know they're going to average 15 points a game on offense, but the defense is going to be great like usual, giving up maybe a field goal. That's just the way they like to play football, and I think they got the pieces to and the schedule to go along with it to make some noise this year. I'm jumping over to the Big 12, and I'm going with the Baylor Bears. Shout out Scotty B, the Baylor King. Huge Baylor fan. Also, go check his YouTube channel out. Subscribe to him as well. But, yeah, I like Dave Aranda. I know he had a rougher year last year, 5-7, couple rough years. But this is a team that a couple years, 3-4 years ago, were in the Big 12 championship. You know, this is the team that has been close to getting that playoff position. And I think this is the year that obviously there's a lot out there. They bring in DJ Lagway from Florida. Being consistent, but maybe he needs a change of scenery, new system. Maybe he thrives. He's definitely got the talent, the potential. So I like Baylor as a potential threat in the Big 12. Texas Tech got weaker today as Sorsby going to the trying to go to the NFL supplementary draft. So, you know, who knows what's going on with that. They do have a tough stretch for their last 3 games. They have to go on the road at BYU, Texas Tech at home, on the road at Houston to end the season. But the 9 games before those 3, pretty favorable games. They get TCU and Iowa State at home, which is huge. So, yeah, I think this is a team schedule could favor them. If Lagway plays good and takes a step in development, I think that Baylor's a team that could potentially find their way sneaking into a Big 12 championship and possibly the college football playoff.
Yeah, and this is a Dave Aranda team that obviously it was in his first year and not his recruits, but this is a guy that made the Sugar Bowl, won the Sugar Bowl against Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin, had a very successful first year, but just kind of unable to stack together teams. And Baylor has just kind of been kind of a left behind when it comes to recruiting in the state of Texas, because when you think of the state of Texas, there's Texas and Texas A&M, which is in Tier 1. And then in Tier 2, there's Houston and TCU. And Baylor's just kind of been at the back end of Tier 2, which is where they cannot be. They got to be at that higher level of Tier 2 because, honestly, they're not getting the same recruits, but they really got to improve in their recruiting game when it comes down to that. But I think that this is a make or break year for Dave Aranda. I think that's pretty obvious with every Baylor fan. Scotty B, I'm sure, will have a comment to let you know more specifics about Baylor and the situation going on there. But talking to him and stuff like that, Baylor is in a position that they need to get some wins, and I think that they will. I do think they're in a good spot for that. So, heading on to my next team, I have Georgia Tech and the Yellow Jackets. I know this is the team that lost a lot. They lost their top rusher in Haynes King, and then they lost their backup quarterback in Aaron Philo as well, and then lost almost all of their receiving threats outside of Jordan Allen, who also is able to run the ball a little bit. But they also bring back a lot of pieces on defense. And most importantly, they bring back Brent Key as the head coach. And Brent Key is just a extremely underrated head coach in college football. I think he is a top 25 head coach, has done a fantastic job at Georgia Tech, a place that is not easy to succeed, a place that is not easy to get wins at, and has done exactly that. So I think that if you got to give him credit to be able to do something like that. So I am excited to see where the Yellow Jackets go. Obviously, Alberto Mendoza, the new quarterback there, Justice Haynes, the running back, he also excites me. Almost 900 yards, 7.1 yards a carry, and 10 touchdowns. That's really impressive stats right there. So I think Haynes at running back this year, and Mendoza, who I think is not his brother, but also has some good attributes as well. Plus, there's some transfers as well. I just honestly, in Brent Key, I trust because I think Brent Key is a good head coach and can lead Georgia Tech to the right spot.
Yeah, I agree. I love bringing in Mendoza because when you look at him, I think he fits a very similar play style to Haynes King, who was very successful at Georgia Tech. So I think there's the potential there for not a significant drop-off, if a drop-off at all, at quarterback production. So I like it. I like it. Moving on to my fourth team, we're staying in the Big 12. I'm going with Utah. This is the team that I'm very curious to see. Is they're without Kyle Whittingham, as he left, headed to Michigan after the whole Sharon Moore fiasco that went on up there. But I think this Utah team, they lose a lot. They bring back 2 starters on offense, 3 on defense. So they lose a lot. But I'm interested to see what they can be. But they keep the key guy, Devin Dampier, from last season. He will be a senior quarterback for them. And I think, I mean, that's the one guy you had to keep on this team when Whittingham left for Michigan. So I'll be interested to see what they can do here. What they can do here with this team. That, I mean, they usually have a very good defense, and it's also going to Utah is a very tough place to play. So I think there's some stuff that aligns there for them. I'm more excited just to see what they are, because they're one of, if not the most unknown team going into the season. It's been forever since Utah was without Kyle Whittingham. So it'll be weird, honestly, seeing somebody else over there coaching them. And it'll be very interesting to see what aspects of his game they keep, what they trade out, and just how things run there. And I'm just excited to see it. Schedule's also, I'd say, pretty favorable for them. They do have to go on the road to TCU. They get Houston at home, which is good. And they do got to go on the road to Iowa State, but they're another team. Who knows what they're going to be. Yeah. So I like Utah. I think they have a chance to make something happen in the Big 12. But it'll be one of those things you just don't know anything really about them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that the situation of bringing in the former defensive coordinator, keeping some consistency in the program, and you got to remember a little bit with that situation of Whittingham was kind of more given a resignation that he needed to sign. Like Utah was going to move on regardless of the Michigan stuff and everything that went on with that. So I think Utah is in the place that they want to be. I think that this transition they knew was coming. And like you said, with Dampier at quarterback, at the end of the day, you have consistency in the building when it comes to coaching for some of it. And then you have a quarterback coming back. At the end of the day, that's what it starts with, and then it builds from there as well. So heading on to my team, my number 4 team is in the Big 12 as well, and I have TCU. And just listen to this schedule here, and you'll see why I have TCU so high. North Carolina in Dublin. So that's going to be an interesting game, but I do think TCU, which destroyed UNC last year, will get the win. Grambling State, Arkansas State, on the road at UCF, BYU at home, bye week at Baylor, West Virginia, Kansas, at Arizona, Kansas State, Utah at home, at Texas Tech. Here's the thing with this TCU team. The front half of that schedule, if they can get a win against BYU, they can really start to stack some wins and stack some momentum. And if you get a win against BYU, you are playing Baylor on the road with some momentum off a bye week. You can't let that become a trap, but you get a win there. You beat West Virginia, who's an up and down team with Rich Rodriguez now. Kansas, and then at Arizona is going to be a tough one, but it's on Friday night, so you never know. And then the toughest 2 games of the year, a home game against Utah, are 2 of the 3 toughest games of the year. Home game against Utah, and then at the road against Texas Tech. Even without Brennan Sorsby, it's a tough Texas Tech team. But I think that Sonny Dykes is able to bring back some quality. And I also like the addition of the transfer quarterback, and I believe his name is Jaden Craig from Harvard. He's a dual threat quarterback, a very interesting talent. So I'm just really interested. It's hard to tell with a guy like that coming from the FCS level, coming from a lower FCS level, even at that. But TCU is just in an interesting spot, and I'd like to see where they go as a program, because this team went really quietly 9-4 last year.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a team. I didn't even know they went 9-4 last year.
Really quietly.
Very quietly. They were irrelevant all last season, but had a good year. And yeah, I think especially with that schedule, you get that win against BYU, and that could give you the momentum to jumpstart a huge win streak to end the year. Going to my number 5 team, I got Penn State. You bring in, first off, you're projected to be in the national championship facing off against Clemson last year. Both of you fall flat on your face in the dirt.
But they Penn do State, play in a bowl game.
Awful year. Although they did play in a bowl game, Penn State did win that one. But, I mean, Penn State had a stretch where they lost 6 games in a row. You fired James Franklin. Now, granted, some of those games were against some good teams. I mean, it all started when you lost in overtime to Oregon, 30-24. That's not a bad loss at all. But then you get beat at UCLA, and that kind of jump starts the whole UCLA thing, and the offensive coordinator and all that stuff go with them, gives them a ton of momentum. Okay, cool. Bad loss. You're distracted after Oregon. You got Northwestern next week. You'll be all right. Then they come out and beat you 22-21. Then you go on the road at Iowa, and they beat you 25-24. Then at Ohio State, blowout 38-14. But you almost beat Indiana. You lose that one 27-24. Some heartbreakers in there for sure, but, I mean, you're Penn State. You're supposed to be in the national championship. You lost 6 in a row to the first 6 teams you played that were anything more than basically an FCS team. If they played Nevada, FIU, and Villanova before that 6-game losing streak. But finished off the season good, winning 4 at Michigan State, got a win, beat Nebraska, won at Rutgers, and beat Clemson. No good teams in there, but you got some solid average teams with Rutgers, Clemson, and Nebraska in there. Michigan State sucks, but I look at this team. They bring in Rocco Beck, transfer from Iowa State, coming with his head coach. But the thing I like most about this team is the running backs they're going to have. Carson Hansen coming in from Iowa State. He rushed for over 900 yards for them last year. But you also get the Ohio State transfer, James Peoples, at running back. And that is a big pickup, I think. And that is the pickup that I really like. for that duo at running back. Maybe the best running back room in college football. It's definitely up there in terms of that. And then on the defensive side of the ball, you return 3 starters. Tony Rojas, your captain at linebackers, coming back, which is huge, as you have a lot of young guys, a lot of sophomores that are going to be starting this year, and a lot of transfers coming in. You got your main leader to enforce that good culture and to help the young guys with the new system and stuff. So I like this team. I think they've got a lot of potential. Now the schedule, I mean, they're in the Big Ten, is going to be pretty brutal, you would think. But Penn State actually catches a break this year. I mean, they got USC at home. They get Wisconsin at home. They do have to go on the road to Washington and on the road to Michigan, which could be interesting there. But you avoid Ohio State, Oregon, and Indiana, which is huge for Penn State. That gives them a lot of potential. And the 2 toughest teams in the Big Ten, I would presume Wisconsin might be. You can trade out Wisconsin for Michigan probably, but Wisconsin still be a tough team. But you get them at home. You get USC at home. I think on the road at Michigan might be your toughest game all year, and who in the world knows what they're even going to be?
Yeah, no, that's very true, because Michigan's a team that you expect them to play well, and you expect Kyle Whittingham to turn that team around because they already have the talent there. But if Underwood doesn't perform, then this team can very quickly not look like a good football team. And the same goes for the next team that I have, my final team, Texas A&M and the Aggies. Well, if Marcel Reed isn't any good, this team looks really bad. But once again, this Texas A&M team is in a better position than they were last year, mostly because they don't have Notre Dame on the schedule. So even though they beat Notre Dame last year and it looked good, you don't have to play another top 10 team this year that's in a non-conference already against a tough schedule. But this year, you do catch some breaks from the SEC schedule. You don't play Georgia, but you do play Alabama, you do play Oklahoma, and you do play Texas. At the end of the day, this Texas A&M team has to beat Texas. They even if they go 11-1, even if they are the best team in college football, this Texas A&M team went 11-1 last year, and their only loss was to Texas, and then they lost to Miami in the playoffs, which I count as an outside thing, obviously not a regular season game. You got to beat Texas. You have to stop the trend of losing to Big Brother Texas. Same thing that I was talking about with TCU. TCU's got to beat.
Feel free to kill them in the comments for that, A&M fans.
Hey, to be fair, they've been playing like Big Brother. They've been taking you out, and they've been beating you senselessly, defensively every single year. And what are you going to do? Seriously, Elko, what are you going to do? You're built on toughness, and you're letting Steve Sarkisian out-tough you? I'm sorry, but Steve Sarkisian is not known for his toughness. Does he have quarterbacks, and does he have flying offenses? Yes, but does he have elite defenses? Is he known for being tough in the trenches? No, not specifically. It's not that Texas has bad defenses. They've obviously had good defenses, but they have Will Muschamp as their new defensive coordinator. So who knows what their defense looks like this year? As you would know better than anybody, Lincoln, what a Will Muschamp defense looks like.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's a better defensive coordinator than he is a head coach. Obviously, he has performed better at the DC position when he doesn't have head coaching duties. But this Texas team has a lot of talent, and this Texas A&M team has a lot of talent. And Marcel Reed is a very, very good quarterback, a top 10 quarterback, maybe even a top 5 quarterback. The problem is that Marcel Reed can't have 12 interceptions this year. The problem is Mike Elko cannot lose to Texas. They can't. You got to have those two things work out. And then you probably have to steal one on the road, either in Norman or in Tuscaloosa, because you do play LSU, but you also play them early. So I don't count that as difficult of a game, because I think Texas A&M should be a team that wins that game.
Yeah, I agree. I think A&M should be a top team in the SEC again this year. They should be a team getting in that playoff, but the SEC stacking up a little bit better. Oklahoma's getting a little bit better.
Yeah.
Bama's got that potential to come in and jump you. Now it'll be tough. They lose Ty Simpson, but you got Georgia. Who knows what Tennessee can do and make some noise, rattle things up. Obviously Texas, as they got better. Adding Cam freaking Coleman shouldn't have even been allowed. They did. No. Texas did nothing wrong. It's just completely unfair that they get yet another just insane wide receiver.
Yeah.
Not saying Texas did anything shady there. And then, but you got Ole Miss. Who knows? There's a team who did something shady, but who knows what they're going to do in the SEC? If you're A&M, you got to beat Texas, and you got to find a way to at least win 1 out of 2 with Bama or Oklahoma. But Texas is a non-negotiable. You got to win that one. That wraps everything up for us today. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe on both channels. We're going to have a lot more of these videos coming out for you guys throughout the summer as we get closer to the college football season. But we appreciate you guys tuning in, and we will see you next time.